In the game of football, it's all about results at the end of the day. Many local clubs have resorted to bringing in foreign coaches in search of the goals. Sofapaka has not been left behind, and Stewart John Hall is the man at the helm. Since he came in, his presence has been heavily felt, especially after releasing some players who have been latent in the team. Today, in our interactive segment, we are glad to have Mr. Stewart in studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We are glad to host you today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Let us start by you telling us what has been your coaching role in Africa, other than you being right now in Kenya and in Sofapaka. Where did you start?
Before I came here, I was nearly 2 years in Azam in Tanzania.
Yeah.
And before that, I was 6 months with the national team in Zanzibar. I did 2 Sakafas. Altogether, I did 2 Sakafas with Zanzibar.
So what drove you to wanting to work in Kenya and especially at Sofapaka?
Well, when I was in Tanzania, I got to watch KPL through Supersport on the, I shouldn't say KPL now, I should say TPL, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. But I got to watch in the league on Supersport, and I got quite familiar with the teams, and I also thought the football was quite good. You know, of all the local Premier Leagues, I thought it was a good product. I also had 2 Kenyan players who played for me at Azam, who used to tell me about Kenya, what a good place it was, and how the football was now developing and the league was taking off.
Now you're here, you're in Kenya, you're at Sofapaka, you have a 3-year contract which is renewable annually. Tell us, what are some of your short-term goals and your long-term goals?
Well, short term, obviously you have to try and win games. You have to try and win every game, and I've been disappointed with the results so far. I personally, as a coach, I haven't lost 2 consecutive games since about 2005, something like that. So it's a bit of a shock to lose. But the problems at the club are a lot deeper than I thought. You do your research before you come in, you know, on the internet and on the squad, and you talk to people, but you don't really know the lay of the land until you actually arrive and start your job. And for me, it's been definitely an eye-opener. It's been finding out things about the club and about certain players and staff, and learn as you know. The unfortunate thing is you have to try and win the games as you're learning and going along the way. But I now feel I'm in a position to make good assessments and good judgments. And I've sat down with the president and I've gave him what I think is the future, the long-term plan.
So far, since you came in, you've released some players. Why has this been, and what actually informed your decision?
The club's living beyond its means. You know, I've said to a lot of people, we live like Manchester United at Sofapaka, but we actually have the income of Wigan Athletic. You know, we live massively beyond our means. The budget has been allowed to run sky high. It had one of the biggest, if not the biggest, squad in the KPL, TPL. There was a lot of excess expenditure on things that, in my opinion, weren't important. So I've found that 50% of my job since I've come in has been financial, has been on the budget side of the club. Not so much on the technical, tactical side of the club, you know. That will come, but I think first of all you've got to get the club in good shape.
How many players do you have currently? And
well, when I came we had 29. When I looked at the history, first of all you have to look at the wage bill, and you have to learn, and then you look at the players. You can't assess a player unless you first of all know how much he earns. I look at every player. If I have a player who's 50,000 shillings, I see, do I get value for money from 50,000 shillings? If I've got a player who's only 20,000 shillings, do I get value for money from that player? So it's relative to me, to how much money they take out the budget. And for me, you ask more and you demand more of your higher earners, because those are the ones that are easier to replace because they're earning good money, you know. The ones who are earning small money are difficult to replace. You have to think, can I actually get better than that for that sort of money, you know? So you have to first of all, look at the budget, look at the players individually, look at what they earn, look at what they give you, look at their attitude, think, can I improve him with the right sort of technical, tactical work, physical work, mental approach to the game? Can we actually improve him? So it's a big, you look at the big picture all the time, not the small picture.
So where does this leave the team? Are they becoming more competitive because they don't know where the axe is going to go, or
They are getting competitive, but I think most of them agree with what I'm doing, because most of them know that the club cannot carry on in, financially the way that it was going. The costs were spiralling out of control, you know. So I think most of the players, the ones who have Sofapaka Football Club at heart, actually agree with what I'm doing. I'm a big believer in consulting the senior players.
Yeah.
So you tend to actually consult them and use them as a bouncing board for your ideas and that, you know. And you learn things from them as well. They'll tell you things that you know, because they know more about the club than you do. So I think most of the players, especially the senior players, actually agree with the policies I've come up with and the blueprint for next season.
Are we right to say that you're currently rebuilding Sofapaka? Is that the right term?
Definitely, yeah. With Sofapaka, you have to be a little bit more clinical than that, because, as I've said, financially things were getting out of control. You have to say, right, we live into a budget that we can't afford. We've got an expenditure, you know, that we can't afford. So we have to do something about it quickly, you know. So I think it's going to be a revolution, the same as it was at Azam, but it's going to happen a lot quicker, you know.
Since Sofapaka was promoted to the Kenyan Premier League, at a point like this, when the league is almost coming to the end, they've never been at position 6, but that is where they are currently. What can we expect before the league comes to its close?
Well, I think the league is I think that's testimony to the league as well. That's not just because Sofapaka have gone off the boil. That's also a credit to the league. When I worked in Tanzania, there's just, you know, you're fighting the Yanga and Simba syndrome all the time. You know, there's 2 clubs, you know, and everybody in the whole country is either green or yellow or red and white. When I look at the Kenyan Premier League, there's 5 or 6 teams can actually win it or finish second. That's healthy, you know. That's good for Kenyan football. That's not a bad thing. For Sofapaka to be in 6th position, it shows that we've slipped, definitely. But it also shows the strength of the league, you know, so and that's good.
You are the last 4 in the FKF, the domestic cup. Are you maybe hoping to win it and maybe console yourself, so that, because maybe the title of the TPL is gone?
Well, yeah, because I think everybody wants to. When I went to Azam, they gave me a objective. Get the club into CAF competition. Right, either CAF Champions League or Confederation Cup. Get us in. Now, in Tanzania, that means finishing 1 or 2 in the league. There is no access through Cup, okay? So in Kenya, it's different. The team that wins the league goes into CAF Champions League. The team that wins the President's Cup goes into the Confederations Cup, I believe, okay? So it has, for me, it has an added bonus of its access into Pan-African competition. So it's not just saying, can we win something, because we've not had a good season in the league, and you know, I'm the 3rd coach this season, and it's been hard work. But for me, it's not just about that. It's about you could actually sneak into Pan-African competition, which would be fantastic for next season.
For the FKF Cup, what do you think about your opponents who you're going to face in the semi-final?
Yeah, Tusker are a decent team. Tusker had a problem. Sofapaka's biggest problem on the field this season has been scoring goals. They rely too heavily on John Baraza, and John Baraza is 35. You know, and I think again it's the fact that the way the club has been mismanaged, that there's not young strikers knocking on the door trying to knock John Baraza out the team. You know, and that just shows you that the squad is not balanced right. You know, that's a problem on the field, but. We've had a problem the last 5 or 6 games. John Baraza, his goals have dried up, and the club have struggled to score goals. If you look in the games we've played, we've had, on the SuperSport statistics, we've had 65, 66% possession of the football, but can't score, you know. I think Tusker were very similar to that, and they couldn't score. They look very solid defensively, they are hard working, but they couldn't score goals, and that's the reason they started to slide. The new coach has come in and he's found the magic ingredients somehow. I don't know whether he's changed the players or whether things have happened and the confidence has gone up, but now they're starting to score 2 goals, 3 goals every game, whereas before a lot of their games were ending up 0-0 and 1-0. You know, so they are a formidable opposition, and they're a good team. It'll be a very good game. But so will the other one, Leopards against AFC against Gor,
Gorma,
you know,
yeah.
will be a very good game. So I don't think there's anything to choose really. When you get into the semi-final and you say you're going to get one of, if I say the top four, you know, without being disrespectful to Alinzi or Tika, or if you say one of the top four, you can get any one of the top four, Sofapaka, AFC, Gor or Tusker, and it's going to be a very, very difficult game.
So what basically we're trying to say is that maybe when the signing season comes in, we will see Sofapaka try to get more strikers?
I've already targeted 5 players. I've got, I've got 4 players that I've already targeted. Myself and the president's helping me, obviously. The president is talking to some players on my behalf because he will look after the financial aspects.
Yeah.
We've already, we've targeted 4, and we have another couple of young, promising players on trial. So
Currently.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk so much about the Tanzanian league. When you compare the Kenyan league, just tell us between the Kenyan league and the Tanzanian league, what do you think?
Kenyans are better athletes. They're physically bigger. There's a lot of bigger players. The games are very competitive because of that. But I think Tanzanians are quite good technically. The Tanzanian league technically is quite good. There's some very small, agile, good technical players in Tanzania, but they struggle physically. The Kenyan league is the opposite. It's very, very good physically, but perhaps technically it could do with polishing a little bit.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you. Thank you. Well, before we wind up the show, let's take a look at the weather forecast. Thank you for watching. This has been The Score on GBS News Panorama Sports segment. My name is Florence Ndung'u. See you next Sunday.